It's Tuesday, the 24th of September, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes, let's go. Story number 1 is a big one. The country's corporate regulator is alleging that Woolworths and Coles claimed they were dropping prices on hundreds of products when they were actually increasing them, thereby misleading customers.
In a federal court filing, the ACCC alleges that Coles and Woolies would increase prices by at least 15% in a short space of time, then lower them as promotions. Either prices dropped at Woolies or down at Coles. The regulator says this was misleading because the promotional prices were higher or the same as the prices those products were previously sold for, and the discounts were illusory. ACCC Chair Gina Cascod-Leib said in times of cost of living pressures, it's critical that all pricing claims and price discounts are accurate. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the allegations, if proven, are completely unacceptable and not in the Australian spirit. He also announced an exposure draft of the mandatory food and grocery code that could end up with these supermarket groups facing huge fines. Basically, items affected, 266 of them at Woolies, 245 at Coles across all types of categories. Coles said it will defend itself against the allegations. Woolies said it will review the claims.
This is a bad look for the supermarkets, but what does it actually mean for them? Could they be fined?
Yes, the ACCC wants the federal court to force the companies to pay penalties, which could amount to tens of millions of dollars. There's also share price issues. Both Woolies and Coles fell by more than 3% yesterday. Perhaps the big one, though, the big fallout for Woolies and Coles is the public relations disaster, which will encourage shoppers to buy in places like Aldi, Costco, IGA and other independents. Yesterday, the Prime Minister was talking about the supermarket's actions leading to inflation. That's not the sort of publicity a company needs or wants.
No, certainly not. All right, moving on to story number 2 now, Sean. Plans to create a specialist monetary policy board at the Reserve Bank look to be dead because the government said it will not work with the Greens, who said they wanted an interest rate cut in exchange for their support.
That was never going to fly. In fact, it's a bit ridiculous, really, given we're trying to make the central bank more independent. The Reserve Bank's 6 current external board members will continue to set rates alongside top management. Now, last year, an independent review found that group of 6 collectively lacked the expertise to set monetary policy. Why do they think that? Well, over 10 years, they never disagreed with the RBA management. All this comes as the Reserve Bank board meets in Sydney today. Later on, we'll find out what they think on interest rates. No one reckons they'll cut rates. There's more interest in what the board says about the potential for a rate hike. While it's not going to happen, the board is likely to keep it as a live option.
Story number 3, the cheapest electric vehicles on sale in Australia have fallen below $31,000 for the first time, though experts say more expensive EVs aren't coming down in price.
MG's lowered the price of electric vehicles in Australia again, cutting the price of its entry-level MG4 hatchback to $30,990, at least until the end of October. It's about $8,000 less than what it was charged in August, and it comes despite strong sales for the vehicle, according to AAP. The price cut makes the MG4 Australia's cheapest electric car. Next in line is the MG SZEV, $34,990. The GWM Aura hatchback is $35,990. The MG Motor Australia Chief Commercial Officer Giles Belcher said it's all about encouraging people who are on the fence about buying an electric car to make that final move. Interestingly, the 33% tax on high-end cars is discouraging sales at that very top end.
Story number 4, a nuclear reactor at the notorious 3 Mile Island site in Pennsylvania is to be activated for the first time in 5 years after its owners, Constellation Energy, struck a deal to provide power to Microsoft's proliferating artificial intelligence operations.
The plant was the location of the most serious nuclear meltdown and radiation leak in US history back in March 1979, when the loss of water coolant through a faulty valve caused the Unit 2 reactor to overheat. More than 4 decades later, the reactor is still in a decommissioning phase. Constellation closed the adjacent but unconnected Unit 1 reactor in 2019 for economic reasons. It'll bring it back to life after signing a 20-year power deal with Microsoft. It's the first time a nuclear reactor in the US has been recommissioned after closure.
Last one, story number 5. What do you make of this one, Sean? 2 men have been charged with stealing $230 million worth of cryptocurrency that they then went on a really subtle spending spree with. It involved travel and nightclubs and luxury cars and jewelry and palatial rental properties in LA and Miami. Really subtle stuff.
Yes. So the men, Malone Lamb and Jean D.L. Serrano, conspired last month to steal the crypto funds from a person in Washington, D.C., according to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia. It involved one other party who was allegedly robbed of about 4,100 Bitcoin after disguising their theft by spreading the money between several cryptocurrency exchanges and mixing services. The authorities said the men went on their spending spree. According to a report in the New York Times, Mr. Lamb, a citizen of Singapore, operated under aliases including Anne Hathaway. Mr. Serraro, he went by Versace God. They ended up taking out Airbnbs, getting Lamborghinis, all sorts of things. Perhaps not surprisingly, after a few weeks, they were arrested by the FBI.
Yeah. Perhaps not surprisingly at all. There we go, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Tuesday, the 24th of September, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.